Y10 PPE March 2022. This is paper 1, the non-calculator paper. First question. Long multiplication. You can ignore the decimal points and just do the multiplication first. So we'll do that and then adjust it at the end. So 367 times 42. We set it up like that. And we multiply first by 2 and then by 40 and add together. So 2 7s are 14, carry the 1 in our head, 2 6s are 12 plus the 1 is 13, and 2 3s are 6 plus the 1 is 7. Okay, put down a 0, and then we've got 4 7s are 28. This is now timesing by 40, you see. So I'm carrying a 2 here. 4 6s are 24, plus the 2 is 26. Okay, and then I'm carrying another 2. 4 3s are 12, plus the 2 is 14. Okay, so I get that. Then I add the 2 together, so I get a 0 and a 4. Just put a line there. So we have a 0 and a 4 is 4. A 3 and an 8 is 11, carry a 1, 7 and 6 is 13, plus the 1 is 14, carry the 1, and then that's 1 and 5. Okay, the points were here and here. There's a total of 3 digits to the right of decimal points, 1, 2, 3, and the point goes there. Okay, and that's the answer. Second one is a division. You could do it by long division. Okay, best thing to do first is to set it up as being the same as 598.4. So I've multiplied both parts by 10 and dividing that by 16. Okay, and if you do that, you could do that as a long division quite easily, and you've simply got 16 into 59 goes 3, because 3 16s make 48. So if I put that underneath, I have a remainder of 11. Okay, if I bring down the 8, I see that 16 into 118 goes 7 times. 7 16s make 112. So if I put that underneath, I see that I have a remainder of 6. Okay, and if I now bring down the 4, that will give me 16 into 64, which goes exactly 4 times, no remainder. And because the point is here, the point sits above it there. And the answer is 37.4. Next question. Question 2. We have here a Venn diagram, and the universal set are even numbers less than 19. Okay. In set A, we have these 3 numbers. In set B, we have these 4. And we've got to show this information on a Venn diagram. Well, basically, 2 of the numbers in set A are also in set B. That's the 6 and the 18. So they need to go in the middle here, in the overlap, because they belong to both. And then we notice that we still have another number in set A that is not in B, and that's the number 12. And over here, in B but not in A, we have a 2 and a 14. Okay. But what's very important, or just as important, is that we now list all the numbers that don't belong in either of those 2 sets, but in the universal set, and that's the rest of the even numbers. So we've got 2 already. We haven't got 4. We need that. We've got 6. We haven't got 8. We haven't got 10, but we do have 12. We do have 14, we do not have 16, we do have 18, and that's it, because we go up to 19. So that's the question completed. Number 3, this is just a subtraction of two mixed numbers. Best way of doing this is to put them as improper fractions. So I've got 21/5, okay, minus 2 3s are 6 and 2 is 8, 8/3. Okay, change them both into 15ths because that's the common denominator. So that will give me 63/15, and from that I'm going to be taking away 24, 32, 40/15, okay, because I'm multiplying numerator and denominator of that one by 5, and that gives me 23/15, but it does say give your answer as a mixed number, so I must write that as 1 whole 1 and 8/15. Okay, and that's my answer there. Okay, next question. So in this question we have to look at this information about Tamara's house and Rahim's house. Tamara's house had decreased by 20%, whereas Rahim's had increased in value by 30%, and we got to find out whose house had the greater value at the end of 2019. So the best thing to do is just take 20% away from Tamara's house. So we've got 20% of 22,000. Well, that's 220,000. 20%, that's going to be 44,000. Okay, and we need to subtract that because it's decreased, you see. So it's 220 minus 44,000, and that equals 176,000. Okay, and then we do the same sort of thing except we're increasing by 30%. So I'm going to do 30% of 160,000. And of course that equals 48,000. And then I'm going to add that on. So I've got 160,000 plus 48,000. And that comes to 208,000. And then I've got to just make a conclusion. So the second house, Rahim's house, is worth more. Okay, and I've just got to say Rahim's house worth more, and then just some kind of comparison, like because 208, I know it's very obvious really, 208,000 is greater than 176,000. Okay, you've got to have those figures to make that comparison. You can't just answer the question without that supporting working out. Okay, next question. Rosie, Matilda and Ibrahim collect stickers, and this is the ratio of the number of stickers. Ibrahim has 24 more stickers than Matilda. Ibrahim has more stickers than Rosie. How many more? Okay, so let's see how we would best solve this problem. Okay, well, Ibrahim has 24 more than Matilda. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is recognize that the difference between those two is 8. So 15 minus 7 equals 8. But I want the difference between those two to be 24, which is 3 times as much. Okay, I'm just going to write that down here. Okay, 3 times 8 equals 24. And what I'm doing there is I'm going to take this ratio and multiply everything by 3. So I get 12 to 21 to 45, you see. And that will give me a difference between Ibrahim and Matilda of 24. Okay, so that's what it says here. So Ibrahim has more stickers than Rosie. How many more? So let's put the letters on top. That might make it easier to follow. So this is Rosie, this is Matilda, and this is Ibrahim. Okay, and it says Ibrahim has more stickers than Rosie. He has 45. How many more? Well, it's going to be 45 minus 12, okay, which is 33. Okay, that's how I would work it out. Next question. Okay, so here we have a prism, and that means the cross-sectional area is the same as you slice it along its length. And we know that the volume is 750 cubic centimeters. We've got to work out the height, h. So I'm going to call that h there for the height. And we know that the area of that prism, the volume of the prism rather, is 750. So the 750 is equal to the cross-sectional area times the length of the prism. So 750 is a half of the base of the triangle at the end times the height. So half of 5 times h times the length, which is 25. Okay, well, I can just systematically move things across to the other side to find h. So if I double both sides to get 1,500, okay, by removing the denominator of the fraction, 1,500, I can then divide by 5 and divide by 25, and that should give me what h is. Okay, so let's put that in. Well, 1,500 divided by 125, that's going to be 1,500, that's going to be 12. So the height of the prism is 12 centimeters. Again, you can quickly check it back to see if it works. If that was 12, 5 12s are 60. Okay, half of 60 is 30, so the area at the end is 30. 30 times 25 is indeed 750, so it does work. Next question. We have here a cube and a sphere. All right, and we're told that the surface area of the cube is equal to the surface area of the sphere. So we've got to make an equation. Well, the surface area of the sphere is going to be 4 pi r squared. Okay, so 4 pi r squared, that's the surface. In fact, they give you that here. So 4 pi r squared is 4 pi times 3 squared. Okay, and we're told that that equals the surface area of the cube. Well, a cube has 6 surfaces equal, and each one has an area of x squared. Okay, well, we just have to process this now, and that's our equation. So that's 3 squared is 9, 4's are 36, so that's 36 pi on the left, and that equals 6x squared. Okay, if we divide both sides by 6, then we get 6 pi is equal to x squared. Okay, and from there we just need to square root both sides, so therefore x would be the square root of 6 pi. Okay, and that's it, because it says show that x equals root k pi, where k is an integer, and therefore we could just confirm that k is in fact the number 6. Okay, but the answer to the question is clear in what you've done there. Expand and simplify. Okay, well this is quite simple. We just have to apply what we often call FOIL, first, outer, inner, last. So we take those two terms, multiply them together. We get 10x squared. Okay, then we take the outer, which is going to be minus 15x. Then we take the inner, which is going to be plus 4x. And then we take the last terms, which are going to be 2 times negative 3, which is negative 6. Okay, combine the middle two terms, and we've got 10x squared minus 11x minus 6. Okay, 10x squared minus 11x minus 6. Okay, very straightforward. Multiplying out brackets. And factorising this, well, we're looking for the factors of 3 that add up to 4. So it's going to simply be 3 and 1. So it's going to be x plus 3 times x plus 1. Okay, and if you did FOIL on that, you would see that it would come back to this. Okay, next question, number 9. Write down the value of 7 to the power 0. The answer is simply 1. Anything to the power 0 is 1. Okay, find the value of this. Using the laws of indices and powers, you add the powers when you multiply numbers to the same base. You can think of 3 as 3 to the power 1. So you've got 1 plus 6 is 7, minus 6 is 1. So that's simply equal 3 to the power 1, which is 3. Okay, 2 to the power of minus 4 is the same as 1 over 2 to the power 4. Okay, and 2 to the power 4 is 16. So it's the fraction 1/16, like that. And finally, we have to do this fractional index of a third. Okay, so 27 to the power of third simply means the same thing as the cubed root of 27. Okay, so that's a little 3 there. The cubed root of 27, which is 3. Okay, so 27 is one of the cube numbers that you're supposed to know. You're supposed to know 1 cubed is 1, 2 cubed is 8, 3 cubed is 27, 4 cubed is 64, and 5 cubed is 125, and then 10 cubed is 1000. Okay, you should learn those. Next, a shape made from 6 identical squares. Find the total area. Well, we're given the total area is 5406 centimeters squared. Find an estimate for the length of one side of each square. Well, look, I've got 6 equal squares, and 5406 is approximately equal to 5400. And the reason I'm rounding it down to that is because I can see that 54 is on the 6 times table. Okay, so 5400 over 6 is exactly 900. Okay, that equals 900, and the cube root of 900 will give me, the square root of 900 will give me the length of the sides Okay, so I'm just going to put here x, that's the length of a side of a square. Okay, and therefore I'm just going to say x equals the square root of 900. Okay, and that equals 30. In fact, just to be careful here, I should put that x equals approximately the square root, okay, because it doesn't exactly equal that. So x is approximately equal to the square root of 900. Give your answer correct to the nearest whole number, so 30 centimeters. So that's my estimate of the length of x. And is it an underestimate or an overestimate? Well, my answer is an underestimate. And the reason it's an underestimate is because I rounded down. Okay, underestimate, since 5406 rounded down. Okay, that will give you the mark for that question. Next question. We have two rectangles here. Now this question was worth 4 marks, and what you had to do is find an expression for y in terms of w. Now this is actually a question about rearranging an equation or a formula, okay, even though it appears to be about rectangles. So what we're saying is that the area of the two are the same. So in other words, we know for sure that 6 times 2w plus y, so that's the area of rectangle A, must equal 7w times the 3y plus 6. Okay, because that's the length and width of rectangle B. Now, if we multiply those brackets out next, okay, that's the obvious thing to do. We get 12w plus 6y is equal to 21wy plus 42w. Now that's all quite straightforward, but what you've got to do is write y in terms of w. Now the problem is y appears in 2 different places in this equation. So what we have to do is get all the y terms on one side. So this is the next step. So I'm going to take away the 21wy from both sides, okay, and at the same time I'm taking away the 12w from both sides. So basically I've moved the 21y over here and the 12w over here, so that's going to give me 42w minus 12w. Okay, now it's quite a simple process, but it's knowing what to do. And so we have a single, we have y only on one side of the equation. Now what we do next is we factorize out the y, you see. So it appears twice at the moment, but it's now going to appear once because that gives us 6 minus 21w. Okay, and then on this side we can simplify that because we got 42w minus 12w, which is 30w. Okay, so all we have now is one single occurrence of y. So if we divide both sides by 6 minus 21w, we're going to get this. Okay, and that's the answer that they would be looking for. Now in fact they accept that answer, but it can be simplified because of course both the numerator and denominator have a common factor of 3. So you could also write it as 10w over 2 minus 7w, which is actually better, but they will accept in the answer either of those. Okay, next question. Cumulative frequency graph, about 40 plants, the heights of them on the grid. Draw the cumulative frequency graph. Well, that's really straightforward. You've just got to remember the rules. So they even give you the cumulative frequency, so you haven't got to work it out. So at the end point of this, the end point, we plot 4. Okay, and at the end point of this 10, we plot 11. At the end point of the next one, we plot 24. Okay, and so on. Try and be as accurate as you can. The next one is 34, and that's at the end point of 20. 34 is there, and then we go to 38, which is here, and finally 40 at 30 there. So we get this characteristic S shape. Okay, now you can join those points together with a pencil and ruler, or you can do it as a smooth continuous curve. On the tablet, it's generally easier to do it using straight lines going to each point. I could go back to 0 here because it's the same distance back as the previous, as all of the others. Okay, so that's can be done like that. You could do this, as I said, freehand, but make sure you do visit all of the little crosses on the way. Okay, so that's it. Okay, and use the graph to find an estimate for the median height of the plants, the median. So basically there's 40 plants, so we need the 20th one. So what we do is we just go along to where we think the 20th one is. Well, we do a line across here. Show this on the graph. Don't just estimate it without drawing this line. Go to the curve, hit the curve, drop down, and read off that value. And that looks to be, well, that's 13 and 13.5 on my scale there. Okay, they will give you a reasonable range of answers. So I'm going to put 13.5 centimeters. But my evidence of working out is what I've drawn on the graph here. Okay, question 13. Now, Ted is trying to change this recurring decimal into a fraction. Okay, and he started his method. He said x is 0.434343, and then he said 10x is 4.434343. Well, it's gone wrong at that point. Okay, we've got to say what's wrong with it. And what he's done is he's incorrectly multiplied that by 10, because if you did, you see x would equal, I'll show you down here, so x would equal 0.4343, etc. in full, right, like that, and therefore 10x would actually be equal to 4.343434, you see. So he's got his 4.3 the wrong way round. So all you need to say is 10x should be 4.34 recurring. And that's only one mark, so that's all you need to say for that mark. Okay, and next question. Here is a shape with all the measurements in centimeters. The area of shape A is A, and show that A is that. Well, what I'm going to do here, there's several ways. You could take two boxes and across here, or you could make it into two rectangles that way, or you could indeed continue this across and do a subtraction. It doesn't really matter. They're all much as the same sort of thing. So let's just take the easiest one, I think, which is just to go across there. Okay, so if I just put that line in there, turn that into a dotted line just to show that I've added it in. Okay, and we've got to work out the two rectangles and add them together. So the first one is going to be 4. So I can say that the area A is 4 times x plus 1. That's the area of the top rectangle. Plus, now what have I got left? I've got 2x plus 6, which is the base, multiplied by the height of this rectangle. Well, if it's x plus 11, and I've got this bit here is 4, then this bit here left over must be 4 less than x plus 11. So this bit here is actually x plus 7. Okay, and so I just need to times that by x plus 7. Okay, and then work all that out, and hopefully it will agree with what's on the top line. So I've got 4x plus 4. Okay, plus, now if we use FOIL here, we've got 2x squared. Okay, and we've got plus 14x plus 6x, which is plus 20x. And we've also got plus 42. Okay, so if we combine those two expressions, or two parts, we've got a total of 2x squared. Okay, we've got 20x plus 4x, which is 24x, and we've also got plus 4 and plus 42, which is plus 46. So there are my steps to show that that is indeed the area of that shape. Next question. Question 15, this is about transformations. We've got this triangle A, and we've got to do these things to it. We've got to reflect it in the x-axis to give triangle B. Okay, well there's the x-axis. So triangle B is going to be down here like this. Okay, and then having got triangle B, we've got to reflect that in the line x equals 1. Now the line x equals 1 is a vertical line through the x-axis at 1. So it's that line there. And we got to reflect it to get the triangle C. Okay, so the triangle C is going to be over here like this. Okay, and that's triangle C. We've got to describe the transformation that takes A onto C in a single transformation. Okay, so I notice that that's the center of a rotation. Okay, now it's also an enlargement of scale factor -1. Okay, so I could either describe this as a rotation. I'll put that here as the answer. Okay, rotation, you've got to give the angle, which is 180 degrees. You don't need to say clockwise or anti-clockwise if it's 180 degrees, but you do need to say that the center is at the point 1, 0. Okay, so as long as you've got that information down, you'll get the marks. You could describe it, as I said, as an enlargement, scale factor -1, also center 1, 0. Now, question 16 is about a sequence, and we've got to find an expression for terms for the nth term of the sequence. First thing to do is, if we just do a little table, this is the best method. Okay, so we've got 4, 11, 22, 37 and 56, it's probably going to be a quadratic sequence. We're about to find out. And I'm just going to label these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, that's what we call n, the position in the sequence. Okay, so n is there, s is here. Now let's have a look what is happening. We've got the second difference, or the first difference rather, is 7, then it's going up by 11, then it's going up by 15, and then it's going up by 19. So the second difference is 4. Okay, 4, and that's what we need to do the next bit, because we want half of the second difference times n. So what we want is 2n squared, rather, half the second difference times n squared. So 1 squared is 1 times 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4 times 2 is 8. 3 squared is 9 times 2 is 18. Okay, 4 squared is 16 times 2 is 32. And finally we get 5 squared, 25, double it, 50. Okay, we then take that sequence away from s. So it's s minus 2n squared. Okay, so 4 minus 2 is 2. 11 minus 8 is 3. 22 minus 18 is 4. 37 minus 32 is 5. And you can see that we're getting a linear sequence now, which is the sequence. It's simply n plus 1. All right, that sequence there is simply the sequence n plus 1. Okay, so our full formula for the sequence is 2n squared, that's the quadratic part, plus n plus 1. Okay, and that's the most common method of solving that sort of problem. Next question. We've got to show these 3 inequalities on this grid and the region that's bounded by them, or highlighted by those regions. So what we do is we treat these as equations. So we consider the line 2y plus 4 is less than x or equals x. So for this first one, I'm going to be considering the line 2y equals x minus 4, okay, or y equals half x minus 2. Okay, just dividing everything by 2. Now that has a gradient of a half and it crosses the y-axis at minus 2. So let's draw that on first. Okay, so it has a gradient of a half and it crosses the y-axis at minus 2. Okay, so it's that line there like that. Okay, now I have x less than 3, so I'm just going to draw the line x equals 3, which is a vertical line like this. Okay, and finally I've got the line y less than, the region y less than x minus 6 minus 3x. So I'm going to consider the line y equals minus 3x plus 6. I'm just going to write that down like that. Y equals minus 3x, okay, plus 6. So that crosses the y-axis at 6 and has a gradient of minus 3. So it's going to come down like this from here, and a gradient of minus 3 will take us through like that. Okay, so I've drawn the 3 lines. Now I've just got to find the region R from that. Well, it's got to be 2y plus 4 is less than x. So it's the region I want is below the first line I drew. Okay, so what I'm going to do in fact is shade in the bit I don't want, which is above the line. Okay, so I don't want that bit. I want x to be less than 3, so I'm going to shade in the bit that I don't want, which is where x is greater than 3. Okay, and the other bit I'm interested in is where y is less than 6 minus 3x, so I'm going to shade in the bit above the line where it's greater. Okay, so I've shaded in the unwanted parts. Okay, and by doing that, I'm left with this region here, okay, below this line and up to this vertical line here. Okay, so I'm just going to make my shading clear around that area. Okay, and that's my region R. Okay, and I'm just going to put R in here, and I'm just going to state that it's the unwanted region shaded. Unwanted region shaded. Okay, because it's usually easier to do that, then you can see clearly what bit you do want. Okay, but they'll be looking for the R in that position in there. Next question. Expand and simplify this. Well, that's a fairly straightforward piece of algebra. So we've got 5p plus 15, okay, and then we've got to take away 2, and be careful here because we've got to do minus 2 times minus 2p, which is plus 4p. Okay, that's where people will tend to go wrong, because it's minus minus. Now, if we simplify all that, we got 9p, and we've also got plus 15 minus 2, which is plus 13. Okay. Next question. This is quite a difficult question with surds because we've got to rationalize the denominator. And the way I would approach this is to write 8 plus, okay, now I'm not going to write root 12, I'm going to simplify that to be root 4 root 3, which is 2 root 3. Okay, you should always write surds as simply as possible, and the bottom is going to be 5 plus root 3, but what I'm now going to do is multiply that fraction by what we call its conjugate, which is going to be 5 minus root 3 over 5 minus root 3. And that will cause the denominator to become a rational number, okay, without a surd in it. So if I just put my fractions in, okay, a little bit of work to do on this one because the numerator's got to be multiplied out now using FOIL. So I've got 5/8 of 40. The outer term is going to give me minus 8 root 3. And then the inner term is going to give me 5 times 2, which is 10 root 3. And the last term is going to give me 2 root 3 times root 3, which is, and times minus root 3, so it's going to give me minus 6. Okay, and all of that is going to be over 5 times 5 is 25. Okay, the inner and outer terms will cancel out because that's why we do the multiplying by the conjugate. And we'll get the last term, which is minus root 3 times root 3, which is minus 3. Now, when I put that when I simplify that, I've got, obviously on the bottom I've got 22, on the top I've got 40 minus 6, which is 34, and I've also got minus 8 root 3 plus 10 root 3, which is plus 2 root 3, and on the denominator I've got 22, and hopefully you'll notice one more step, and that is that they are even numbers on the top and bottom. So that is actually equivalent to 17 plus 1 root 3, or just root 3, all over 11. And that is the simplified surd answer that they would be looking for. Okay, now you don't have to explicitly state what A and B are because it's implied in here, but if you wanted to be thorough about it, you could write that A is therefore equal to 17 and B is equal to the denominator, which is 11. But your answer to the question is there. Next. Okay, this is worth 4 marks because you get 2 of them for giving reasons at each stage of the working. The other marks are given for finding angles. Now, the first thing you need to do is find some angles and write them in, okay? Because that will always give you some marks. Don't be tempted just to work X out and write it down, because you'll only get 1 mark for that if there's no other working or reasons. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to write here 70 degrees, okay, and that's because it's vertically opposite. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that angle, okay, AEB is equal to angle FEG, and the reason for that is they are vertically opposite. You can just say opposite, but vertically opposite is the correct term. All right, now that's a mark because you've worked out an angle, and you can just say equals 70 degrees. And you've put that on the diagram as well, okay? Now, if that's 70 degrees, I can also see that this angle here is 54. I'm going to write it in, always write them on the diagram. But the reason that that's 54 is it's alternate with this one. So I'm going to give that reason as well. So angle DEA equals angle BAE equals angle BAE, which equals 54, and the reason I can say that is alternate. Alternate angles. Okay, so that's going to get you full marks because you've worked out some angles, you've shown the reasons with the angle that you worked out. Okay, you don't just write random reasons down and hope that one of them's right. You've actually got to relate them to the angles that they refer to. And then finally we can just say that, well, we can work out this angle here, which is going to be equal to 54 and 70 from 180. So we've got 180 minus 54 minus 70. Okay, and that's going to come to 110 minus 54, which is going to be 60 minus 54, which is going to be 56 degrees, and that's going to be in here. Okay, and having got that one, we can say that X equals 180 minus 56, okay, which is equal to 24 degrees, 124 degrees, which is the right answer. Now, you could put more reasons in here. They only want 2 in the answers, but if you were to put reasons, you'd be saying here that this is angles in a triangle, add to 180, and for this one here, angles on a straight line, add to 180. Okay, but there's enough there to get you the marks. Okay, next question, and the last question on the paper. Venn diagram. Okay, we've got two sets, A and B, and we've got to write down the numbers that are in the set A united with B, the union of sets A and B. In other words, the numbers that are in both set A and in set B, okay, in any of them. So that's all of the numbers inside the circle. So we have 15, 12 and 18 in the overlap, but we also have 10, 16 and 14, which are just in B. So the 6 numbers inside any of the circles A and B. Now the intersection is the numbers that are only in both A and B. In other words, the ones in the overlap in the middle. So they are 12 and 18. In the third question here, third part, we've got to, one of the numbers is chosen at random. Find the probability that the number is in set A not. That means not in set A. Okay, well, how many numbers are not in set A? Well, there are these 4 here, okay, plus these 3 here. So there's 7 numbers not in set A, out of a total of 10 numbers. That's it, 7/10. Okay, and that is the end of the paper.